It's time for the Nintendo Land review for the Wii U. Welcome to Nintendo Land, Nintendo's action park-themed tech demo for the Wii U. Remember the hype you saw and may have even joined in on when Wii Sports came out? People thought it was amazing and unique. I know I did. So when the tech demo for the Wii U came out, I was like... However, that was just my reaction from watching people play it at E3. Now that I've had much time to play each game over many times, let's see how it turned out. When you first start, your park will not look like this. It will be barren with only a giant tower in the middle and the entrances to the park attractions. The park guide automaton Monita will also be there to guide you. Now don't fret too long, my friend. All of it will change because of you. So let's get on with the games. Each one has a Nintendo franchise theme, some probably more recognizable than others. We've got The Legend of Zelda Battle Quest, Pikmin Adventure, Metroid Blast, Mario Chase, Luigi's Ghost Mansion, Animal Crossing Sweet Day, Yoshi's Fruit Cart, Octopus Dance, Donkey Kong's Crash Course, Takamaro's Ninja Castle, Captain Falcon's Twister Race, and Balloon Trip Breeze. The first 6 that I mentioned are multiplayer, with the first 3 supporting single-player mode as well, and the last 6 are single-player only. So let's start with The Legend of Zelda Battle Quest. Up to 5 people can play simultaneously in a co-op mode. Whoever plays with the gamepad plays as an archer, while using a Wiimote will let you battle with the sword and shield. In each level, you'll fight your way through Zelda-themed areas on rails. If you've watched past reviews of mine, you'll know I don't really like playing on rails for most games. I like to have the freedom of exploration. However, the game is still fun. I can't really decide which character is more fun to play as because they're both good for their different styles. You'll use the gamepad screen if you're the archer to battle enemies. You can either physically move the gamepad around to see your surroundings, or you can use the left analog stick. If you play co-op, the archer's view can also be seen in the lower right corner of the TV. What's weird about being the archer is, you fire arrows using the right analog stick. Was this decided to make the sense of being an archer more realistic? Because you're pulling back on the analog stick, which simulates pulling back on the bowstring? Come on, just let me use one of the buttons. It's just weird. Overall though, the archer is pretty fun to play as well as the other character. You'll use the Wiimote as a sword, and the mechanics are basically the same, if not congruent to that of the controls of The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. The beginning levels aren't that difficult, but the later levels are. Each level has a boss fight at the end, and it can take some strategy to beating each one. On to Pikmin Adventure. In this game, you can either choose to play as Captain Olimar or a Pikmin. You'll use the gamepad to send out and call back Pikmin, as well as moving around, which can be done using the analog stick or using the stylus. You'll break down walls, drink up nectar, upgrade yourself and your Pikmin, get useful items, and battle your way through to Olimar's ship. It can be quite difficult in the later levels, so reaching the ship and beating the level can be quite a challenge, which is fun in my book. In Metroid Blast, your Mii dresses up as Samus and you fight waves of enemies in each level. If you use the gamepad, you'll fly in a gunship as opposed to using the Wiimote, which makes you a ground soldier. Each have their advantages and disadvantages, like the gunship is faster and has a faster fire rate, but is a larger target, and vice versa when you play on the ground. The controls for each character can be tricky at first. The biggest problem I have is that the gunship's controls for physically moving up and down are annoying. I like having the inverse axis on, so that if you press up, the gunship will actually move down, and pressing down will make it go up like a real plane. If you don't like it this way, that's cool, but it can be a problem for me. Other than that, and getting used to the controls of the ground unit, the game can be really fun. Mario Chase is one of my favorite games. All it is a game of tag, but the way it's delivered is very fun. The person with the gamepad has a 10-second head start to get away from the other player, and if it's only one other player, the 2 Yoshi carts as well, in a maze-like arena. The person, or people, trying to catch the player can only see their surroundings, but the gamepad shows the player's surroundings and a map of the other players. The ones chasing the other player have a distance meter which tells them how far away the person is to them. If the players can't catch the runner in time, the runner wins, and of course, the players win if they can catch the runner in time. This can get for some crazy fun time, especially if you have more than 2 people playing. Luigi's Ghost Mansion is another one of my favorites. The person with the gamepad plays as a ghost, while the other players are ghost hunters. The goal of the ghost is to catch the other players a certain amount of times without them spotting him or her with their flashlights. The goal of the ghost hunters is to shine their flashlights on the ghost to drop the ghost's life level. The more they shine their flashlights on the ghost, the more the ghost's life level drops. If it drops to 0, the ghost hunters win. Now here's the catch. The ghost hunters can't see the ghost on the TV screen, but the ghost player can see everything on the gamepad. When the ghost gets near a player, their Wiimote will start to vibrate stronger and stronger as the ghost gets closer. If it's just a one-on-one match, the ghost hunter receives help from 3 Monitas, which I think is slightly unfair since the ghost can't catch the Monitas. Other than that, it's a very strategic game for both players and can be really fun with multiple people. Animal Crossing Sweet Day is another one of my favorites. Interesting how the 3 games which require more than one player for competition are in my favorites list. Anyway, this game is similar to Mario Chase, with one or more players being chased by the player with the gamepad. The goal for the Wiimote players is to gather up and drop off a certain amount of candy to goals located somewhere on the map. The goal of the player with the gamepad is to catch the other players a certain amount of times from dropping off the candy in the goals. The trick is, the gamepad player has control of 2 guards, which are controlled independently from each other. One is controlled using the right analog stick, while the other is controlled with the left one. This can be very fun and challenging, but also frustrating, which is kind of the point. This game is especially fun when you have more than 2 people, because working with your teammates can be really fun and actually laugh out loud funny. So now we're on to the single-player games. The first one is Yoshi's Fruit Cart. This is a pretty unique and fun game, although it can become quite frustrating. On the TV screen, you see your character, a bunch of fruit, and an exit door. The goal is to draw with the gamepad a route in which the Yoshi cart goes right near the fruit to eat it, then head to the goal once all the fruit has been eaten. You have to eat all the fruit in one turn, meaning you have to draw one path that leads to all the fruit and the door in one try. The trick is, you can't see where the fruit is on the gamepad. You have to look back and forth between the TV screen and the gamepad to figure out where you need to draw. Using the background is very helpful. It's a pretty fun game, but I get kind of bored with it after a while. Next up is Octopus Dance. This is my wife's and my least favorite game of the 12. It's pretty boring, and you have to virtually be dead on with your actions in the later levels to succeed. All it is a rendition of Simon Says. Just match your actions with the computer using the gamepad. If you mess up a few times, you lose. Donkey Kong's Crash Course is a fun but very difficult game. You'll move your triangle cart thing along a 2-dimensional path, moving through obstacles and challenges. To move the cart, you have to tip the gamepad to the left and right, use the analog sticks to rotate objects, and the RZ button to jump. You only get a few lives to complete the course, and it can get really difficult near the end. The thing is, though, there's only one initial course. Even though it can take quite a while, once you do complete it, that's it. There aren't any more courses. I completed the course once, and it did say something like there will be additional courses in the future, or something like that, but I can't really remember. Overall, it's a good game to test your skills and patience. Takamaru's Ninja Castle is a ninja throwing star game. You're on rails, again, although in this game I don't really mind it, and you'll use the gamepad in a vertical position to throw ninja stars at enemies. You'll also receive scrolls which give you temporary powers to use against your foes. This is a pretty fun game, although I didn't really like how you had to hold the gamepad vertically and slide your fingers across it to throw a star. The force you slide your fingers across the screen with determines the velocity of the star, so in order to be effective in the game, you'll want to slide your finger fast along the screen. The problem is, in doing so, your hand can hit the other buttons and the analog sticks on the gamepad. I'm not thinking about the other buttons in the way, I just want to throw a star fast enough to defeat the enemies as quickly as possible. Overall, it gets annoying, but it doesn't really mess up your aim. Captain Falcon's Twister Race was one of my least favorites when I first played it, but now it's pretty fun. I didn't like it at first because 1, the sense of speed is nothing compared to a real F-Zero game, and 2, the beginning levels are too easy and very plain looking. However, the later levels seem to boost the sense of speed and obstacles on each raceway. To control, you'll hold the gamepad vertically and tilt it to the left and right to turn in each direction. Now, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to look at the gamepad for the vast majority of the game, but I find it to be more fun just to look at the TV screen. If you look at the gamepad, you have a split second to react to upcoming obstacles, so it's more challenging, but I get more fun out of it if I just look at the TV screen. The last of the 12 games is Balloon Trip Breeze. You'll use the stylus on the gamepad to make a breeze for your character to move in. On the gamepad, you only see a very limited space of where your character is, so you have to watch the TV screen to see where your character is going. The point is to pop as many balloons as possible and avoid obstacles which can pop your balloons. Each balloon gives you 1 point in the beginning, and if you pop more and more balloons consecutively, their values will increase. If you get hit, you'll lose 1 balloon keeping you afloat. This is one of my favorite single-player games. Each time you play any of the 12 games, you'll receive coins after winning, or losing a game. As long as you play it, you'll receive coins. There are also in-game coins you can pick up for even more coins. What do these coins do? Well, you can use them in a special game where you drop them down this area, and the goal is to try to turn all the blue lights into orange lights. If you've ever watched The Price is Right before, think of this game like Plinko, which happens to be my favorite Price is Right game. Anyway, every time you light up all the lights in the level, you'll receive 1 prize. These prizes are statues and songs that appear in your park to liven it up. Now it's funny, Nintendo finally gives us an HD console, and we get this. Boy, those 8-bit pixels look great in HD. Now, I'm just messing around. The graphics look great in each game, but some take more advantage than others. I think the best looking game is Pikmin Adventure. Even though these games look great, it doesn't feel like Nintendo took full advantage of the HD potential in Nintendo Land. It's not a huge issue, but I thought I'd bring it up nevertheless. If you complete all the levels in each game, you'll be recognized as a star player for each game you complete. This can give incentive to people to keep coming back to each game and playing them. This game lets other people view your park, however I thought a huge downside was that you can't play online multiplayer. The multiplayer games are so much fun when you have more than 2 people playing, and since it's just me and Lizzie for the most part, the games can get dull. And I just have to say, most of the prizes and stars I have in my park are due to Lizzie playing it a lot. She really likes trying to get everything possible in Nintendo Land, whereas I don't really have an urge to go back and play them again and again. That's another thing. Now, this game is technically the tech demo for the Wii U, but it doesn't feel like a tech demo, since there is so much offered. If you compare Wii Sports with Nintendo Land definitely gives you more. However, I feel like Nintendo Land isn't as addictive as Wii Sports is. There's only been a few times where I come back to play Nintendo Land, but for the vast majority of the time when I want to play a game, I'll skip Nintendo Land and go play something else. Now, to add to the competitiveness of the game, there is a challenge mode, so to speak, where multiple people can challenge each other to a handful of games to see who can get a higher score. This is pretty fun, but again, it's much better when there are more than 2 people. Nintendo Land is a pretty fun game with lots to offer. Great graphics and controls, an awesome tech demo overall, most of the games are fun, and it's a great multiplayer game. However, I just don't feel like it has a lasting appeal. I don't really have incentive to go back and complete every level in every game. The game is fun and addicting initially, but for me, it loses that appeal quickly, which is disappointing. Also, I really didn't like that you can't play online multiplayer, because I'm pretty sure I would be coming back to it more often if it did. Overall though, it's a great game with lots to do and lots of charm. It's by no means a bad game, it may be just that it appeals to a more casual crowd, and I like to play games with more depth. Still, it's a good addition to the Nintendo library, and a really fun game if you play with friends. This game gets a 4 out of 5 with the title of Awesome.